Evidence just didn't add up. Battleship sinks, fingers point to one source, tensions escalated, war was imminent. I'm not talking about the recent attack on South Korean battleship that caused rifts with its neighbors to the north, but one that happened nearly 50 years ago. But the two stories have striking similarities. Now, new intelligence says the sinking of the Cheonan was a false flag. Is there truth to this? Is there truth to this new wind? Joining me to discuss this a bit more is investigative journalist and RT contributor Wayne Madsen. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, as mentioned, Gulf of Tonkin, August 1964. Two separate incidents. One did take place. The second incident, we later found out, was a facade. Are we seeing similar actions take place right now between North and South Korea?
Well, all the indications are that the target audience for this incident off of Pyongyang Island, which is the westernmost part of South Korea, but directly opposite North Korea, that the target was the Japanese government. Japan's center-left government was opposed to the U.S. keeping this marine base in Okinawa. And as a result of the heightened tensions on the Korean Peninsula, Prime Minister Hatoyama has flipped, and he's allowing the U.S. to relocate its base in Okinawa. It's resulted in a rift in his own government. His Social Democratic Party partner was forced to resign from the coalition yesterday, and she was negotiating another deal with the mayor of Tinian, which is in the Northern Marianas. So there was a lot going on. Increasing the tensions in the Korean Peninsula resulted in the U.S. keeping this military presence in Okinawa when the people of Okinawa want the U.S. military gone yesterday.
Well, you really mentioned what we're trying to get to the core of here, and that is why provoke another Gulf of Tonkin incident. So Japan does play into this as
Very
far
much
as military.
So.
Okay.
And we have to point out that the South Korean President, Lee Myung-bak, is a hardline right-winger. He came into office intending to ratchet up tensions with North Korea. North Korea, you have to look at who benefits. Cui bono in this. It's not North Korea. Their lucrative trade on the economic zone that they had with South Korea has been cut off. They're losing now hard currency. Kim Jong-il, who very rarely travels, and only when he does, he only travels by train, went to Beijing. My sources in Beijing say that he went to Beijing. The Chinese authorities said, did North Korea do this? He denied it. They were satisfied at his response. Now the Chinese are very suspicious of the United States' intentions in ratcheting things up in the Korean Peninsula. I would also note that Pyongyang Island is also the host of a U.S.-South Korean intelligence base. There's U.S. Navy SEALs present. There was a USNS Salvor, a civilian Navy ship with 16 deep-sea divers that happened to be on board at the same time. The Cheonan was sunk by this torpedo that was later to be discovered to have been of German manufacture. Germany sells no military weapons to North Korea. This thing is starting to look like a classic false flag operation.
Wayne, let's try to look into or foresee the future, if you will. What is the U.S. going to benefit from this in the future, and will we look back on this, say, 10, 20 years ahead of time, like we did with the Gulf of Tonkin, and say this was the prelude to whatever the U.S. is trying to achieve, as you're implying right now?
Well, hopefully we're not going to see an outbreak of war on the Korean Peninsula. We have to remember that there is still a technical state of war. There was never a peace treaty signed between the North and the South, so things could get out of hand very, very fast. As I mentioned, the Chinese are looking at this very suspiciously, and this comes right as we have this new national security strategy put out by Obama, where it stresses unilateralism and all these nice things. I think this is the same neocon Bush foreign policy wrapped up in different wrapping paper. There is no reason, and the North Koreans have asked for a U.S. embassy in Pyongyang. We don't have one there. It makes no sense not to have a U.S. embassy in Pyongyang to discuss these issues, just like it makes no sense to not to have a U.S. embassy in Tehran or a U.S. consulate in Ramallah or Gaza, for that matter. And I think this just goes to show that the Obama administration is playing Cold War politics, business as usual with them.
And it seems like the media is also playing into this as well. I spoke to some members of Congress yesterday during a vote, and the one thing on their mind dealing with Korea was war, war, war. So does that seem to also be a factor in this situation?
I think anything that can divert attention from the U.S. Economic situation. We also have economic issues between the U.S. and China. I would note that Hillary Clinton was in Beijing trying to ask the Chinese authorities to be tough on North Korea. She was there with Timothy Geithner. I understand from my sources in Beijing that it was almost like a love fest between Hillary Clinton and Geithner over in Beijing, and the Chinese authorities are saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? You're saying that you know, you want us to get tough on North Korea, and there's this like gab fest going on between Geithner and Hillary Clinton. They're very perplexed. They're very puzzled at the U.S. behavior, and I think they should be. I think this is just again, like the Gulf of Tonkin situation, just another example of the U.S. engaged in a false flag. I think false flags are now the way to go in international military strategy.
Well, that's the insight from investigative journalist and RT contributor Wayne Madsen. Great to have you on the show as always.